Well, as you can see, I'm in my messy patio here at the house. Ever since we moved in here, it's been kind of a catch-all room. Eventually, we're gonna make it a nice little room in it. To be honest, it's kind of my deer. Whenever I'm doing deer mounts or deer skull mounts and stuff, it's kind of my room too because the sun comes in here and keeps me pretty warm. But anyways, gonna get right to it. This video is gonna be pretty much just like a quick tutorial on how I like to do European mounts. And this right here is a deer for one of my buddies that he's had in the freezer. And so I told him I was gonna get it out and do a tutorial on it, kind of show y'all how I do it. There's no, wrong or right way. It's kind of a personal preference, however you want to. He also gave me this beaver head. He's wanting me to do too. So I'm gonna try it out. So we'll get right into it. One more thing I wanted to point out too is I always like to have I usually get me a bucket and a bag. So any scraps that I get, I just toss them in there and then it makes for an easy cleanup. Okay, like I said, pardon all my mess. You can see I got tape, you might see a bunch of tools in the background and stuff, but this is kind of a catch-all. Anyways, the first thing I kind of want to get into in doing these deer mounts is a lot of times whenever my buddies and stuff hand them to me, what they do is they just take a saw and cut straight off the back. And most people tend to do this. So what I like to do, and I wanted to show in my tutorial, is, I guess I need to sharpen this knife real quick. Okay. So back to the video. What I was saying is, I like to tell a lot of people about this because they don't realize it. And it's a pretty vital, or it ain't vital, but it makes it a lot easier to me anyways. On an old mature buck, it's a little tougher to cut too. Anyway, I'm getting there. Or trim whatever back to give you a little bit of playroom. As long as you're not cutting into the skull, making marks on the skull or the antler, you'll be alright. A lot of people don't realize it, but right here, if you can see that, right here behind the skull cap, you can almost feel the bone end. There's like a joint there. And you can do this right after you kill the deer, right after you skinned it, when you got it hung up in your skin in there or whatever. You could do this then. So you don't have to put it in the freezer and wait till now. And you don't have to have no saw. A lot of people think, you have to have a saw to cut the deer head off, and you don't. Trying to cut some of this meat back so you can see. So you can already see it a little bit, but there's a joint right there, right behind the brain. If I can get it, the more it kind of just falls apart. You can hear it kind of crunching. That's just that membrane that you're cutting. See, you can see that already moving. It'll almost just fall. The meat's the only thing that'll hold it on. There, I want to show you that. See, right back here on the back of the deer head, you can see that where that brain, the brain is right inside that. There's just a hole back here. And you can almost just pop it off of there. There. Like I said, on these old deer, it's kind of tough, but if you can find that, you can do it a lot quicker than I can. I've done some quicker than that, but as soon as I start the video, of course, it would not work. All of this you would be saving. You know, when you cut it off with a saw, you're leaving a whole lot more on there for your taxidermist or for your buddy that's going to do it for you or whatever. And all you got to do is cut right there, and it leaves a whole lot less for you to have to cut on. As you can see right here beside me, I've done a couple deer heads, and that's what I use to whiten them. I'll get to that part later. And what you want to do now is just kind of what I'm doing. I've cut off everything that I can get. And like I said, that right there is that spot that we cut right around the brain. You can see that little cavity and the hole inside, and that's where the brain is. And what I'm doing now is I'm pretty much just trying to take all the hide I can all the way down to the nose. And then we'll kind of cut some meat off. You have to cut around these joints on the side. Then you take the bottom jaw off. Okay, now you can see I got all the hide off. I pretty much just worked my way all the way down, got all the hide off. So now you can see there's just the bottom jaw and the top left. And there's still some meat around here. I'll get to that in a minute. But what you'll have to do is, you see this big chunk of meat right in here. And that's kind of what holds the jaw in place. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, but it makes it a whole lot easier to go ahead and cut all this meat right here you can out. So when you pull that jaw, it just pops right out. So that's what we're going to do. This deer's so wide it keeps wanting to tip over. But, and like I said, a sharp knife makes this way easier. And I cut, and like I said, be careful not trying to cut the skull. You have to cut pretty hard. I'm in the way. You have to cut pretty hard to get into that skull too, so just be kind of careful. And see, even there's still quite a bit of meat left, and this one big hunk is already a big old piece. That big old hunk right there. And you wouldn't think that it holds that jaw on there, but trust me, it does. Okay, now we've got all the meat cleaned back from the sides of the bottom jaw. And you don't need to worry about trimming too much off of the jaw on the bottom, because you're going to be pulling it off anyways. So it's all going to come off. But what I normally do is I put my arm on the top and just pry up. And as you can see, that jaw just comes right on up. And then you just take your knife and that little bit of meat that's hanging on with it. There's a couple of small bones that hang on to it sometimes. There you go. And you just cut it off. That's all there is to getting the bottom jaw off. And as you can see, that lightens up a lot of what was already on the deer. So there's not a whole lot left to do before we get to the pressure washing side. And one of the things I'll point out too is, which I've heard it said in other videos, I've watched, one of the people that I watched to help learn how to do this, and he's really good, is the White Bones Creation guy. He's on YouTube, and he has several videos. He does deer, every kind of animal, hogs, a lot of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that he said, and I'll agree with me doing these, is the more you can get off now with a knife and with whatever you have to do, you might have to use pliers, but the more that you can get off now, the easier it'll be. When you get to the boiling process, all of this will come off way better the more you can get. I like to take the eyeballs out. I'm going to do that here in just a second. I trim as much as I can around the burr of these antlers. Clean them up as much as I can, because I found that that's kind of the hardest spot to pressure wash them off. And then you trim right here on the nose. You don't want to go too, the bone stops about right there. You can see it. You can see the clearness of it. And there's cartilage. And I just cut straight down. And you don't want to press too hard, because like I said, you'll be cutting into the bottom part of the bone. And then you can follow that bottom bone and cut that cartilage right out of there. until you get that. One more quick tip I like to tell you about the eyeballs that helps me is I normally take my knife and I run it, I stick it, make sure it's sharp, I've just sharpened it. Run it up around there, all the way around the circle, and then I take some pliers and I stick it way up in there as far as I can, and I pry every bit of that out I can. So you're less likely to cut something that you shouldn't, or cut yourself, and you get more out of there at a single time. And you can see right there it's still connected. So I cut some more and push back up in there and get as much as you can and pry it out. Because the eyeballs are tough. If you boil them without taking the eyeballs out, they're hard to pressure wash out. At least I've found that they are. So I like to cut them out, or cut everything out I can. Like I said, it might take you a little while. This is why nobody hardly does their deer mounts. This is why I do with my buddies. It's because not a lot of people want to mess with it. I got all that out of the eyeball that would have been tough to get out when I'm boiling it. And there's still a little bit more. If you can see up in there, there's still a little bit in there. But I'll just keep playing with it and I'll be able to cut it all out of there. And you ain't gonna get it perfect, but you'll have it to where it's a whole lot easier when you boil it. And then all that'll just pressure wash all off. And it'll give you a lot better and cleaner skull. Well, this is all I'm gonna do for now. As you can see, I could probably cut some more meat off. I could probably trim some more stuff off, but I'm gonna be pressure washing this probably tomorrow, and I'm not gonna refreeze it or anything, so I think it'll all come off pretty good. The reason that I'm gonna quit is because right when I was about to finish up, cut myself pretty bad, so had to go and get that cleaned up and put the band-aids on it. And I guess I'll catch up with you tomorrow when I'm gonna be boiling this. And I'll get to the beaver head. I might do it tomorrow too. I'm not gonna mess with it right now since I cut myself. But we'll see you tomorrow.